Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got Malik Nabers, the best wide receiver in the 2024 NFL Draft. Man, let's check this out.
We've heard so much.
I know there's been a lot of people saying Marvin Harrison's the best, Rome Odunze is the best, Malik Nabers is the best. In my opinion, I think Rome Odunze is the best overall wide receiver in this draft class. But you know, Marvin Harrison Jr. has the name that carries weight with his talent. So
Malik Nabers is a great player, plain and simple. I think he has the potential to be a really good NFL wide receiver, and he showed all of those tools in college. Malik Nabers got to Baton Rouge,
an elite deep threat too, bro.
His freshman season was the last year under.
Didn't he run like a 4.3 at his pro day?
Brad Davis was the brief interim head coach. It wasn't the best LSU team. They went 6-6 before losing in the Texas Bowl to Kansas State. Max Johnson was the quarterback that season, and he had a lot of good wide receivers to throw the ball to. LSU had 4 different guys with over 300 receiving yards. Kayshon Boutte and Trey Palmer, who both went on to get drafted in 2023, Jaray Jenkins and Jack Beck, and of course, Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. Nabers played in 11 games and started in 6. He had just 10 yards through his first 2 appearances before starting to find a role with 4 straight games with at least 30 yards, including 66 yards against Kentucky, where he scored his first collegiate touchdown.
Oh my gosh.
Season high 6 catches
Catch was nasty.
Yards against Texas A&M in late November, 1 week after he had a season best 143 yards and
look
a
at that
touchdown
speed, bro.
4 receptions.
He's got tremendous burst.
Nabers finished the year with 28 receptions for
bro, got the Coca-Cola on deck.
4 touchdowns, none of which were top marks on the team. It was a good, promising season for a freshman wide receiver, but LSU had its issues, and that's when they hired Brian Kelly, the former head coach at Notre Dame, who had won double-digit games in 6 of the past 7 seasons, and he took no time at all turning around LSU. The Tigers were ranked as high as number 5 in the country and were 9-3 before losing to number 1 Georgia in the SEC championship by 20, and then beating Purdue in the Citrus Bowl. It was
damn, 63-7 is crazy.
Big help to that. He completely solidified himself as LSU's top receiver. He had 1,017 yards. The next highest total on the team was Kayshon Boutte at 538.
That's a big ass drop off.
Receptions, which was 24 more than Boutte. Nabers did only have 3 touchdowns, which was less than Jaray Jenkins and Brian Thomas Jr., but Nabers had 8 games with at least 50 yards and ended the season on an absolute tear. He had 7 catches, which was a season best at the time, for 129 yards against Alabama Birmingham in mid to late November.
Alabama Birmingham, what the fuck?
7 catches again for 69 nice yards against Texas A&M. It was a good 2-game stretch, and he just kept rolling. He played really well against the stacked Georgia team with 5 catches for 128 yards and a touchdown, but the best game of his season came in the Tigers bowl game. Nabers went for 163 yards and a touchdown off 9 receptions.
I still like, bro, every time I see that catch, I fucking cringe.
New transfer quarterback Jaden Daniels was
this nigga just does not give a fuck. Nigga lean back in that motherfucker.
Back in 2019, but after 2 more seasons there, he decided to transfer out to LSU. Jaden Daniels and Malik Nabers found a groove and were really good together in 2022, but clearly we hadn't seen anything just quite yet. 2023 was an insane season, not just for Jaden Daniels, but also for Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. Jaden Daniels was all the talk during the college football season. He was sensational and went on to, of course, win the Heisman Trophy. He was a serious threat on the ground with 1,134 yards.
That shit is still insane.
Jaden was really good on the ground, and it was even.
How many QBs have done that in college?
3,812 yards.
I believe Lamar did it.
And a lot of the success through the air went to Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. Kyron
not
Lacey
sure who else
and
did
Mason
it.
Taylor both had over 300 yards receiving, but Nabers and Thomas were just insane. Thomas had 1,177 yards and 17 touchdowns on 68 receptions.
Damn.
He was elite, and he'll probably have his name called in the first round just like Nabers. Nabers had 89 catches for 1,569 yards and 14 touchdowns. In mid-September, Nabers had the best game of his collegiate career against Mississippi State. He caught 13 passes for 239 yards and 2 touchdowns. That was simply just a crazy game, and he followed it up with a 3-game stretch of all 100-yard games.
They're this generation's goddamn Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in a way.
He had 89 yards and a touchdown against Auburn before starting.
I'm guessing Malik Nabers is Jamar Chase and Brian Thomas Jr. is Justin Jefferson.
Nabers had a great day with 10 receptions for 171 yards and a touchdown.
Sheesh.
One of the best performances of his collegiate career. In his last 5 games of the regular season, Nabers had 686 yards and 7 touchdowns. He helped LSU have a pretty good season. They went 10-3, 6-2 in the SEC, and their only losses came to number 8 Florida State, number 20 Ole Miss, and number 8
That
Alabama.
game was
What
crazy.
we saw last season at LSU was incredible.
That was an absolute
They were a
shootout
fun team
against
to
Ole
watch.
Miss.
It obviously wasn't the first time we've seen 2 really good LSU wide receivers on the same team. Of course, even Kayshon Boutte and Trey Palmer went on to be drafted, but everyone points out and remembers that 2019 season specifically that had Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson.
That's exactly
Not to
my
mention,
comparison,
even
man.
Terrace Marshall Jr. and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 2 future NFL draft picks, combined for 1,000 yards receiving too. Justin Jefferson didn't even have a catch his first season at LSU. Then had almost 900 yards as a sophomore, which was the first year Joe Burrow was at LSU. Then he really exploded in 2019 with 1,540 yards and 18 touchdowns on 111 receptions. He was so good, and it led to him being a first-round pick, and he's already having a great career with the Vikings. Then
Facts.
there was Jamar Chase.
But he needs to get up out of the Vikings,
With
bro.
1,780
He needs to get up out of there.
yards and 20
Unless they
touchdowns,
draft
84 receptions. He was
great
the
QB in the
home
first
run
round.
for LSU,
I
and
don't
he was
see
damn good
Justin
at it.
Jefferson
He was only a
staying.
sophomore and had 300 yards as a freshman. After how good he was in 2019, he actually opted out of the 2020 COVID season to just train for the draft, and ultimately went in the first round to the Bengals. He's already had a ton of success in the pros, just like Jefferson. When you look back at how good they were in college, it came after a transfer quarterback came in Joe Burrow. It's kind of interesting just how similar the two situations are when you look at Joe Burrow transferring into LSU and just dominating en route to winning the Heisman Trophy with 2 great wide receivers. Now, we've really gotten to see part 2 of that with Jaden Daniels doing the same thing now with Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr.
Hitting the
big 3
squabble.
at LSU last season was a big reason for why they were so good. All 3 were great, and now we'll actually get to see who can make the jump to the pros. Jaden Daniels is probably going to be the first of those 3 guys to go off the board, depending on which quarterback-needy team goes after him. Caleb Williams probably ends up at 1 to the Bears.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels likely goes 2 or 3 to the Commanders or the Patriots, with the other taking Drake May or maybe even JJ McCarthy. The first realistic spot for a wide receiver to end up, in my opinion, is at 4 to the Cardinals. I'd be willing to bet that either Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Nabers land there.
Bro,
Then
definitely
chances
Marvin
are
Harrison
the other
Jr.
goes 5th to the Chargers after Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were both cap casualties. Of course, there's a reason both of those teams are drafting so high, but getting to play with Kyler Murray or Justin Herbert is a pretty good start. I really don't think that Nabers or Harrison are actually going to be available past the top 5, especially Harrison. But there are other options in the top 10 that need wide receiver help.
Like
You have the
Rome
Giants at
Odunze.
6, Titans, Bears at 9, and the Jets. Those
I think
teams
the Bears are gonna take
best are
Rome
gonna be looking
Odunze.
at Rome Odunze and beyond. There are a bunch of good wide receivers in this.
That would be a nasty trio
Teams are
with
elite. So Brian Thomas
Odunze,
Jr.
DJ
should
Moore,
end
and
up
Keenan
somewhere in
Allen.
the first round.
If the Bears somehow pull this off, bro, with drafting Caleb Williams and drafting Rome Odunze, Bears might be contenders this year. I don't care what nobody says. Bears might be contenders.
We just gotta wait and see.
Hey man, do y'all think Malik Nabers is the best wide receiver in the draft class? Y'all let me know down in the comments below. But that's gonna do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, turn on post notifications, get notified whenever I drop another banger video. And without further ado, I'm out. Gang.